So, we have a pay-per-view event coming up on Sunday night. Yeah. It was less than 24 hours ago that I filmed my SummerSlam 2020 review and posted that to YouTube, and I'm right back up here doing a WWE pay-per-view preview and predictions video. It feels bizarre. It really does. WWE putting on a Payback show a week after SummerSlam. I can't be bothered with this company, but yeah, we've got a Payback show Sunday night. I'm going to come up here to preview it now because, yeah, we only have 4 official confirmed matches, but realistically, there's probably going to be, 7 or 8 matches on the show. It's a filler pay-per-view anyways. No one really cares. I'm just going to get this done now so that the video is relevant for like 5 days, as opposed to it being relevant for, I don't know, a day if I've posted this on the weekend. So I'm coming up here, the Payback Predictions. The show itself, we have obviously 4 matches confirmed. The only one of them that I'm genuinely really excited for is Keith Lee versus Randy Orton. But at the same time, I don't get the creative behind that. They're kind of booking themselves into a corner with that one, so we'll see what they do. Also, I'm really interested in the Triple Threat Universal Championship match. Roman Reigns, The Fiend, Braun Strowman. I'm fascinated to see what they do with that. That has my attention, but outside of that, the rest of this show just screams filler. It screams WWE just putting on an event for the sake of it. Now, I'm sure they're probably going to do some really big Retribution-related angle. At least I'd hope, considering, like, Retribution week after week now, they're just kind of there. Like, we get it, Retribution and doing attacks, you need to do something more with it. So, probably going to be something Retribution-related on this show, something big and notable. And then that's about it. I mean, obviously, the Universal Championship match, that's a big match. And we have Keith Lee versus Randy Orton. And that's really it. Because, presumably, they're going to add probably Aleister Black versus Kevin Owens, based on what they did on Raw. They're probably going to add... What even are they going to add? A Raw Tag Team Championship rematch between the Street Profits, Angel Garza and Andrade? Probably. They're probably going to add a SmackDown Tag Team Championship match with Cesaro and Nakamura defend their titles against the Lucha House Party again. Stuff like that. Maybe Jeff Hardy defending his IC title in a rematch against AJ Styles. That kind of stuff. That's what I think they're going to add. So, are you guys really amped and excited for that? Not really. Basically, it's just a show that doesn't need to be happening. That's the best way to put it. It's a show where there's a bunch of matches that are going to take place. There's a bunch of matches which will cause the wrestling community to cry out burials, because that's all a bunch of this community loves to do nowadays. So is what it is. There's a pay-per-view Sunday night. I'm just going to get into the preview and predictions for the 4 matches we have announced. So yeah, I'll just get into this. For starters, I'm going to kick us off. Keith Lee, Randy Orton. Basically, I didn't review Raw, as you guys can obviously tell, and the main thing that came out of Raw was Keith Lee has a new theme song, and the reason behind it, according to Alex McCarthy, is apparently that WWE didn't want to pay the person who owns copyright to the theme song because they were charging like $1 million or something. So Vince didn't want to pay that, and accordingly, Keith Lee, his theme song, it was like the generic, well, it was his intro, the "Oh, bask in his glory," and then they just went into this generic jobbery type theme music. This theme music that you'd expect someone like Chad Gable to have, not Keith Lee. It was just horrendous, that theme song. So Keith Lee came out to that music. He was wearing what looked like a schoolgirl dress. I mean, they're not doing Keith Lee any favors. Now, I saw a portion of wrestling Twitter crying out burial. These people who, near enough, regardless of what happens in wrestling shows, cry out burial. People who look for little things to call out as burials. At this point, I don't even really care to cry out burial. I'll cry out burial if they have Randy Orton beat Keith Lee in like a minute. If Randy Orton just goes in there and demolishes Keith Lee, that's more so a burial. But I look at something like The Fiend Bray Wyatt. He won the Universal Championship on Sunday night in the main event of SummerSlam. He won the Universal Championship, the company's, I guess you could say, biggest title, but we all know the WWE title is the biggest, so I'll say the second biggest title, the company's co-biggest, second biggest title. The Fiend won that on Sunday night, and because Roman Reigns came back and created a big talking point, a lot of buzz for the show, because Roman Reigns came back and speared him, people were saying that The Fiend was buried. The YWC, man, can't even be bothered. So, yeah, Keith Lee isn't buried because his theme song's different. It's just a bit of a disappointing kind of reveal for Keith Lee on the main roster. That's my takeaway, is essentially a Keith Lee stan. Like, let's be honest here. So, yeah, the Keith Lee thing's a bit of a mess. As for the match itself versus Randy Orton, it's a lose-lose as far as the booking, because Randy Orton is entrenched in the WWE Championship picture. Randy Orton has had the best 2020 of anyone pretty much outside of McIntyre. He's had an awesome 2020. Randy Orton should not be losing this match, but at the same time, it's Keith Lee's literally first legit match in the company. Like, yes, he had the Survivor Series thing, the Rumble, he had the match on Raw, which went for like 3 minutes, but this is a one-on-one singles pay-per-view match against a legitimate, bona fide main eventer in Randy Orton. So, it's a big match. I'm going to predict Randy Orton beats Keith Lee. I can't see Keith Lee beating Randy Orton. Like, maybe the only way I can see them doing it is if Drew McIntyre, like, the ref's down and Drew McIntyre claymores Randy Orton and then Lee hits him with a spirit bomb and pins him. Something like that. But realistically, I see Randy Orton hitting an RKO out of nowhere. McIntyre's probably going to be involved somehow, and then Randy Orton beats Keith Lee, which in that case would lead to everyone crying out burial. Because regardless of what they do in this match, people will cry out burial just to be cool. So that was that. Then I'll predict the Universal Championship match. This should be the main event. I think it will be. It's pretty much safe to say. Roman Reigns versus The Fiend Bray Wyatt versus Braun Strowman. The Fiend is coming in Universal Champion. This is one match where I can easily see them having Roman Reigns win the title, and wrestling Twitter just breaks. The certain cluster of people who love crying out burial will hate this, because apparently Roman Reigns coming back as a heel or a tweener is horrible, because if Roman Reigns is a dead set babyface, given what happened at SummerSlam, I mean, fair enough, but it didn't look like it at all. It looked like, in my opinion, like what happened made all three guys look like tweeners, because this whole storyline with The Fiend and Braun Strowman, it was basically The Fiend is the heel and Braun Strowman's the face, and then given what Braun Strowman did in the 2 episodes of SmackDown before SummerSlam, it made Braun Strowman look like a heel and The Fiend look like more of a face. So that made them both look like tweeners, essentially. Reigns came back as a baby face that looked like a heel, so I'm calling him a tweener. It's 3 tweeners going at it. Like, it's a bit of a mess. Basically, Braun Strowman's not winning this match. You can put a line through Strowman. Is The Fiend retaining the title? He should. Could Roman Reigns win the title here? Absolutely. Honestly, I would not be shocked if Roman Reigns wins. This is WWE with Vince McMahon running the helm in 2020. Like, Roman Reigns could well and truly win this match, and personally, am I going to predict that? Oh, I don't know. I'm thinking on the fly here. I think no way WWE actually pulls the trigger on having Roman Reigns beat The Fiend this early. I think they're going to have The Fiend pin Strowman to retain the title, and then Roman Reigns goes after The Fiend for like 2 months or 3 months, and they have a big program with The Fiend and Roman Reigns on SmackDown. I think that's where they're going to go. Strowman can go off and do whatever. He can piss off. So, yeah, I'm going to predict The Fiend to beat Braun Strowman and retain. Reigns will be a non-factor in the finish, I think. Or Reigns will win the title. I don't bloody know. So that's the Universal title match. The rest of these matches, I'm going to fly through because literally no one cares. So the Women's Tag Team Championships are on the line. We've got Sasha Banks and Bayley defending their championships against Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. As much as it pains me to say, Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax are going to win the Women's Tag Team Championships because they're furthering the beef between Sasha and Bayley. They had the whole thing on Raw, where once again, Sasha had no help from Bayley to have her in her match against Asuka. Like, Asuka was beating Sasha Banks, and Bayley just wouldn't help Sasha, so Asuka beat Sasha Banks in the end. So they're just going to keep furthering the divide. Sasha and Bayley are going to lose 2 more belts. They're going to lose their women's tag belts. Having Shayna and Nia Jax win is bizarre, but the women's tag belts are absolutely meaningless, so it doesn't really matter. That's what I think they'll go with there. As for the United States Championship match, Apollo Crews versus Bobby Lashley, I predicted MVP would beat Apollo Crews at SummerSlam. I guess I'll predict, well, not the same things. Obviously, MVP's not in this match. In this case, it's Bobby Lashley, but I'm going to predict Apollo Crews to lose the title again. I'm just going to keep predicting Apollo Crews to lose it because, like, they did an arm wrestling contest on Raw with Lashley and Crews. Who gives a damn? Lashley's going to retain. Lashley's going to win the title. I think that Lashley should win the title. The Hurt Business has more momentum than Apollo Crews, so I'll predict that. And then, I mean, those are the 4 matches we know officially. I'll just predict other matches that they could probably do. So, Aleister Black versus Kevin Owens, based off what they did on Raw, where Aleister Black was portrayed as the heel in that KO show segment. I'm going to predict Aleister Black beats Kevin Owens. That just seems like it makes sense. The Raw Tag Team Championships, I'll predict the same thing now as I did at the SummerSlam. I'm going to predict Angel Garza and Andrade win the titles if they have the match. I think if they do a SmackDown tag title match, Cesaro and Nakamura retain that almost regardless. And I think that's really it. That's all there is really of note. I'm going to predict a big Retribution related angle. I think Retribution are going to be heavily involved in something, so that's going to be a big talking point. So that's Payback. That's the show we're going to get this Sunday night. Do you guys really care? I mean, comment down below. Do I care? Not really. The triple threat match and the Keith Lee Randy Orton match have my interest, but that's really about it. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, like, comment, sub, hit the notification bell, all that kind of good stuff. Road to 800, 900, 1K. You guys know the drill. See ya.